Intel I've received says stockpile these, and it makes sense. Hey everybody, this is Michael with Asymmetrical Preparedness. A subscriber, maybe patron, I forget, emailed me and let me know. So her husband works for, I'm going to leave names out of it, her husband works for DHS. After going to a meeting about whatever's going on, whatever kind of meeting they have there, he called her up and said, honey, go get paper goods and canned goods. She said he never ever acts like that. So when he came home, didn't even change. They jumped in the car and went to the store and bought a bunch of paper plates, paper bowls, I forget if she said like plasticware, and a bunch of canned goods. Obviously he didn't tell her why, because it was probably a classified brief, but this tells you something. She came to the same conclusion that I would have, and that I did, when they're talking about things like that. What does that mean is coming? Well, if you think about it, paper plates, paper bowls, plasticware, stuff like that, what is that? That is stuff that you can use to eat and do other things with, whatever. But you can eat and canned goods without power. What does that tell you? Wonder what kind of intel was at that brief. What they were talking about. If they have some knowledge about an imminent or high possibility of a nuclear blast causing an EMP, or if they are working, receiving intel from other agencies that observe, like the sun, that know a big solar flare is coming, a CME, a coronal mass ejection, or do they have intel about the weakness and vulnerability? That's what I'm looking for. Vulnerability of our power grid and the associated heat. Heat causes problems with things like that. They heat up, right? Same with like extreme cold. They can freeze. Now, electrons don't freeze or really, heat up. But what I'm saying is extreme ends of the temperature scale affect things differently. And how our infrastructure, power grid being one of them, is fairly antiquated. It really doesn't get updated and fixed and or modernized very often. I got to go move my watering hose to a different location. Just a sec. Okay, I'm back. My vice. I do drink a lot of water though also. Yeah, our power grid is fairly susceptible to a lot of different things that can affect it. One of the things is overburdening of it, causing it to go down. What do we see in Texas? Was that I forget if that was last summer or the summer before, when they lost or no, it wasn't summer, it was winter. It was when they lost the power grid in the winter and people died because they couldn't heat their homes. This is one of the things we need to think about, we need to talk about here as preppers. We need to prepare ourselves so if the grid goes down, we don't die, right? I mean, come on. So these items that this woman's husband told her to get and they went and got a bunch of, that does imply that direction. And she made it sound like that's out of the norm for him. He may not be maybe he's a little less into preparedness and prepping as she is. I'm not sure. But it's good, and I say intel, not information, because I know I haven't independently verified, which is what intel is, but reliable source saying her husband directly works for DHS, went to a meeting, came home, went out and bought this stuff. That's close to intel for me. I get it. It is more information because it could just be somebody out there making up stories. But I seriously doubt she's doing that. So this is an indicator of what might be coming. So get those items, sure. Paper plates, paper bowls, plasticware, because you may not be able to do dishes if you don't have hot water, if you don't have running water, etc. And canned goods is always a good thing to have. Variety in your food storage is important. A lot of people concentrate on beans, rice, corn, wheat, those long-term dry goods, which is great. But remember, those take a lot of water to cook, and it takes cooking. You got to cook them. Well, if you are in a situation where you don't have the ability to cook off-grid without power, then definitely emphasize your food storage in the direction of what I call rations, because they're rations. Rations are just something you can grab and you can eat. Canned goods, just open the can, eat it. MREs, emergency rations like those SOS bars, Grizzly bars, UTS I think bars. There's a lot of good ones out there. Those survival ration bars. You know what I'm talking about. My two favorites. I did a video a while back, probably a year or so ago. It was a taste test. I bought like 6 or 7 different kinds, or maybe it was 8 different kinds of those bars. And then my 2 children did a taste test. My wife didn't really want to be included in it. She had some and she had her favorites, but the official test, and we had these different categories that we ranked them in, and then found out which one was the highest ranked, highest rated, etc. And you got to understand, it was also, results are skewed a little bit because it was 2 children involved. Children aren't thinking about everything that we are as adults. But my favorite 2 ration bars are Grizzly bars and SOS bars. They taste the best. I mean, seriously, I would eat them almost more than I would a sugar cookie. And I love me some sugar cookies. Oh yeah, these are like shortbread cookies, and they weren't really dry. Anyway, not really going into that right now. Anything that you can just grab off the shelf, grab out of your pack, grab out of your vehicle, and eat. Canned goods. Not just, tin cans from the store. I mean like when you can your own stuff, jar canning, all the stuff you overproduce from your garden, all the stuff you buy from the store. You don't necessarily you don't have to have a garden to can. I hope you know that. You can go to the store and buy a big, huge bag of potatoes. Prepare them up, can them. Same with tomatoes, same with anything. Almost anything you can just can when you buy it at the store. So that's a good practice, because then you have rations ready to eat that are long-term food storage capable. All right, so think about that. Okay, if we're going to be headed that direction for an off-grid scenario, then you need cooking. But first, before I get into a bunch of other stuff I want to cover, very important stuff, please, if you guys enjoy the videos, you want to help support the channel, help support the community, please subscribe. Hit that thumbs up, comment below, and interact with each other in the comments. I see some great interaction in the comments sometimes. It's really cool seeing you guys interact, and somebody will ask a question, I'll miss it or something like that. I'm doing better, and I'm trying to buckle down and do a lot better in the comment section, be a lot more involved with you guys there. But people going back and forth is really a good thing. And share the videos, please. And if you want to support the channel and see a bunch of awesome content for $1 a month, check out Patreon. Links in the description below. Great stuff there. I can speak my mind. Although I've heard some things about Patreon, kind of but hey, it's the best option I have right now, and it's a really good community there. So join us there if you want. And I'm going to pause it again because I got to go move my water. Off-grid cooking. How do you off-grid cook? Okay, for one example is in my situation is my stove in my kitchen is gas cooktop. Not natural gas, propane, because we have one of those big, huge propane. We're rural, we don't have town, we don't have city water, we don't have city sewage, we don't have city anything except for power and internet, of course. Okay, so if you have a natural gas or propane cooktop, light it with a lighter. Turn the burner on, light it with a lighter. Your electric starter won't work. So what? You can still cook. If you have a wood stove, obviously you can cook on it. And you may figure out a way to bake in it also. There's ways. Or bake on top of it. Dutch ovens are always really good. You can also campfire, right? Campfire cooking. Almost all I do have one Teflon pan. And that's mainly just for cooking eggs. Just because, eggs on cast iron, even though I've been using mine for a long time. I've been using my cast iron pan for well over 20 years. Probably close to 25 years. And very well seasoned. But, yeah, so if you cook on cast iron regularly, you know how to cook in it. And it's very easy. I'm not going to take that Teflon pan and put it on a campfire. I mean, yes, I could, because gas stove is flame, campfire is flame, same, kind of. But cast iron, learn to cook with cast iron. Awesome. Check out flea market, or not flea markets, thrift stores. Goodwill, Salvation, actually, no, let me stop before I say that word. Faith-based thrift stores, Deseret, there's your local thrift stores, anything. Okay, so I was about to say Salvation Army. Why not Salvation Army? I used to love it. Due to this recent events, of recent years, I went in there, and Salvation Army is a faith-based organization. Christian-based organization. I went in there, and they had the sign on the door with mandatory, wearing your muzzle here in this state. I don't do that. So I went in to the store, cut to the right, looked at the furniture, looked at some things, looked at the boxes, totes, stuff like that. I was looking for prepping stuff. And then I circle around, I get back to the book section, and this employee comes up to me and says, hey, do you have a mask? And I said, no. And she said, would you like one? I said, no. And she said, and at this time she was kind of walking towards the counter. And we get to the counter area, and she said, well, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. So, somehow, Thomas Jefferson came into my body, and I gave the most awesome dissertation, loud enough for everybody in the store to hear, about, I thought this was a faith-based organization. You're telling me to wear a mask, you're going to kick me out, thus violating my free will that God gave me, and all kinds of stuff. I went on and on. I can't even repeat it because it's just like I said, I was overcome, and I just went on in this awesome dissertation. Ended up with 3 other people walking out with me, tearing their masks off, and saying that they were ashamed that they didn't stand up and do something about it. But anyway, that is why I will not go to Salvation Army ever again, because they are hypocrites. They are a faith-based organization violating people's free will that was given to them by God. They should be the biggest supporter of free will. Correction. I'm sorry. I was saying Salvation Army. My son just corrected me. He's sitting over here. He's like, no, that wasn't Salvation Army. He's right. I apologize. Correct everything I was saying. St. Vincent de Paul. That's the thrift store. St. Vincent de Paul. Faith-based organization violating people's free will. So, whatever. Anyway, side topic. Go to thrift stores. Find cast iron. Find off-grid cooking methods. A lot of times they have those Coleman stoves. They have different kind of camp cook stoves and stuff like that. That's really good to have, especially even if it's an emergency backup. Even if you have a wood stove, even if you have a gas range, why not have backups? Never, just like in the military, you don't want to be the only one with the knowledge, because then that becomes a single point failure. If something happens to you, that knowledge is lost. Nobody else knows about it. Same idea, but with things. If you have one of something or one way to do something, and then it fails, it breaks, you can't do it, you're limited to do it, whatever the situation is, it runs out of fuel, and then you can't do it, and you don't have a backup method of doing the same thing, you're out of luck, right? Okay, so redundancy in your preps, that's very important. Okay, cooking is very important off-grid. I kind of covered you, I think you guys get that. So what about water? Water is important. Every time I go to the store, I buy, almost every time, very regularly, not every single time, but almost every time, I get two things. I get a case of mason jars, wide mouth, because we can a lot and we're going to be canning even more, and dry canning, dehydrated stuff, go through a lot of mason jars. And it's good to have lots on stockpile. And bottled waters. Case of bottled waters. What used to be, what, $3 and something, now is $5 something. But it's a good way to stockpile water. I agree it's not the best. I know somebody's going to say that, and that's true. It's not the best way, but it is a way. So water is very important, and you're not going to be able to stockpile enough. So I've said in many videos before, find ways to replenish your water. Know who has pools in the area. Know who has an off-grid well. Know where streams are, rivers, lakes, ponds, stuff like that. Or, I don't know if you can see it. No, it's kind of right there in the sun. It's really sunny out there. That is one of those little kiddie pools. It's just one of those blow-up ones. Cheap. You can get the hard plastic ones also. If you have a yard, side yard, you know, get a couple for your kids or neighborhood kids or friends' kids or whatever. And you can use them for that. Fill them full of water. Play in it, stuff like that. Use it to water your garden, use it to flush your toilets, etc. Okay, there's a lot of stuff to off-grid. But basically, just analyze what you guys have. Analyze the way your life is. And then think about everything you do that uses power. And try to find alternative ways to accomplish the same things without power. Obviously, like, I'm not really worried about it. If we go grid down, I care less about this platform and the internet in general, because obviously it's going to be down. I'm going to be concerned about a lot more things. So I'm not worried about a backup way to get on the internet, of course, because probably the entire thing will be down. But anyway, vehicles are part of it. Yep. We talked recently also about Faraday cages. Yep. Oh, saw a comment where somebody takes a metal trash can and they can hook a car battery up to it, saying that that's an EMP, and to check if it works or not. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, are you serious? People actually do that? I guess people do. That is not an EMP. Sending an electrical signal through an item is not an EMP. It's electromagnetic pulse, not electrical current. Anyway, yeah, don't do that. Don't hook up a car battery testing your Faraday cage. If it is metal, completely metal on the outside. Okay, that was one of those good interruptions. My wife just opening up the door and saying, I love you, just because. Oh yes, I'm very, very blessed with a wonderful family. Completely encased in metal. Conductive metal. Not, well, anyway, yeah, just a metal. Completely lined on the inside with a good, thick rubber substance. The rubberized shop flooring panels you can get, those work pretty well. And obviously, I don't have a way to simulate an EMP. So can I test my Faraday cages? No. But what I can do is I can over-engineer them and build them way more than I think I need, because then I know the stuff is safe. I went into that recently in a video, so I'm not going to go back over the whole Faraday cage thing. This is meaningful, though. somebody from DHS going to a meeting and receiving this kind of insight. So please take it on board, because why not? Let me see the time. I got to be mindful of the time. All right, this is a little bit longer video than normal, but it's a something to think about, something to plan for. I mean, a lot of us are planning for this kind of thing anyway. So just keep this in mind. Up your game. And yeah, prep a little every day. But remember, prepping is living insurance. Because it is what will give you a chance to survive. You may not survive, but at least you'll have a fighting chance. I love you guys. Have a wonderful day. And blessings to you and yours.